Hello Tubesters, it's Gav. Welcome to another one of my videos. Today I wanted to just show 4 finely painted, that's finally rather than finally through this snotted up nose. These are Periplastics, Polish Voltiguers. I went a bit different with these. Still done on a lacquer grey primer, but let me see if I can get a pointy stick. Anywhere where I thought the light was hitting quite hard, I put I covered that highlight in white paint, and that was just to bring it a bit more vibrancy. I don't normally paint like that, but I just fancied a change, and that's what I've done. So you'll see different parts of like the yellows and the greens. The greens is only one, or in certain areas anyway, is only one actual green. So we're looking at the as you can see where the ball is on the plume, some of the highlighted areas, that's white painted on top of that. Now this isn't those contrast paints or anything. I do have a few of the Vallejo ones of those, but I use them mainly mixing in with other things. This is just normal paint over the top. Obviously not too thick. You find a nice balance to it, and it'll bring out that highlight. And same as here. Done the same on the muskets. Obviously I've used a few other colours on the muskets to get some grainy type effect. Did it on the backpacks. You can see the areas I've highlighted, and then just used a slightly lighter paint than I normally would do for the cowskin backpacks. These, by the way, or the box was given to me by a good marra of the channel, Paul. That's over in the Plastic Monkey channel. He paints figures from time to time, and he thought he'd have a go at Napoleonics and decided World War II was more his thing, and he kindly passed them on to me. So thanks, Paul. It's greatly appreciated. These ones are going up for sale, which Paul said as well. I'm not a mercenary, but he said, you know, do what you want with them, paint them, put them up for sale, whatever. Get some income coming in. Faces came out nice. Done them quite shiny again because of doing that, you know, the different way. I like mixing it up from time to time. I wasn't going to show you 3 Vietnam figures I've done, but I will show you them just to show the contrasting look. But I thought the faces came up quite well. The one thing I will say with Perry's faces are, I mean, they're all nicely done in that, but they're quite. I like Paul Hicks's faces, and I like his stuff in general. I like the Perry's as well. It's just that their faces, there's not a huge amount to go on, if that makes sense. And especially you throw in, which isn't their fault, but you throw in a bushy moustache and a chin strap. You know, there's not a lot of face to go at really. But the trousers I've done my own usual way, but or several ways that I paint white trousers. But if you want the base coat of that, and then the rest is just my usual pale sand and ivory. But the first pool of paint I use is it's completely out of my mind now. Hang on a second, that ain't hard because I haven't got much of my mind left to go out of. Here we go, RAF Sky Grey. So put that down on your wet palette, or the palette of your choice. Put it as your base coat. You might need to, depending obviously if you're using a black. The only thing I'd say is you might not get the brightness, but then again you might get some more contrast out of it. I don't know. But I'm always, well, majority of what I paint is from a primered grey base coat. Pros and cons. Pros, obviously, if you're doing lighter colours, you're already halfway there because you've got a lighter base to get work off. Cons are, obviously, it will show up in the nooks and crannies if you don't hit every area. You know, if you miss a piece, whereas it looks like as we know, natural shading with black. But this brighter method, I think, would go better with a grey, primer. But that's what I use if you want trousers like that. Now, what you do is I'll normally have 3 or 4 dots of paint, not the huge pools you see some of these like bus painters and everybody do, because half the time they're donated paints to them and they can splurge it all on like it's like throwing gold on the liquid gold on your palette. So I just put through 4 dots of all the paint I'm using, and then I this grubby stick here I have literally had for about 12-14 years of painting, and I literally mix on my palette with that rather than a paintbrush, because obviously you reckon quite quickly. But that'll give you that type of look if that's what you'd like to try. And you just keep adding to that paint. So you don't want to put a giant pool on it. Once you've used 2/3 of it up on your figures and you've got like a third left, then start adding your pale sand in, and you may take 1 or 2, highlight some to the same areas, and then add your ivory to that, and just keep building up until you finally, and leave your white ivory some small amount left to do your final highlight with, that's not mixed in with the rest of the paint. Again, and you can dirty these up. I just decided to give them a real clean look, which I know they're in dusty Spain on a barren hillside. They would actually be dusted up, but I just fancied leaving these really clean and showing the uniforms off really. I think this is the 2nd Legion. I've been trying to, as soon as I said what they were, I was racing in my brain to think, what the hell? Can you remember, Gav? And he can't, but I think it's the 2nd. The gourd's the same, everything got not a dry brush, because I don't really think it works in some reasons, but if doing it this way, it doesn't work so much. You just got to, it's a bit laborious. So saying, don't forget the trousers, because you're going to do those up normally, but you're using that other type just to give you a different look of off-white trousers. But you can see it coming through in the paint there, in the blue paint, so yeah, just a thought anyway, if anybody's interested. Now, where did we get? I think this is the last one. And then I'll just mix through the moustaches, I mix the hair colouring up. I use AK's Old Gold a lot. It's a really dark gold, funny enough. But I know we're going to put a matte coat over, a matte varnish over this, clear coat, whatever you want to call it, at the end. But I just think it gives you that darker look, and then you can always put a bit of gold or even a bit of brass just as a highlight on all those areas that are that colour. But I do like this Old Gold from AK. It's a nice alternative. So there. Oh, and I've got he gave me the full box, which was really kind of Paul. We send bits and pieces backwards and forwards when we can. So I just did 4 more. They've been on my table for months. I had to wash them under a tap to get the dust off them, or the first 4 anyway. And I stuck these together the other night. I just put a bit of milli put round the edges, just to broad, so it's not such a big jump when I put the sand on and the glue, the PVA. And there was a couple of gaps which aren't Perry's. That's me. I always struggle doing these arms onto bodies and onto muskets. It's just I've just never got the knack for it. People often ask, do you prefer plastics or metals? And I don't really mind. I can struggle with both of them. Yeah. I apologise for the claggy voice and everything. I've got a right. It's only just leaving now. It doesn't sound particularly great. Now these are some I had. Was it last year? These are Empress miniatures. One of my favourite miniature companies. Again, sculpted by Paul Hicks. And I say that just as in I've got no ties to Empress whatsoever. I just enjoy their figures. Most of the ones sculpted by Paul, and again I've got no connection to Paul other than he's a decent bloke and a talented sculptor. Yeah, just doing these up on a couch. These are late war Americans that can be used for Korea as well. These, by the way, boots will be really dulled down, same with everything else, when I get round to it, which will be in the next couple of days, because I'd like to put those up for sale until I've got bills to pay. This was a 30 cal crew, by the way. But nice sculpts, as I say, not too much cleaning up to do on them. Last one. I bought these when I bought those Germans, just to see what they were like. Now these ones are, oh, quick, still working on the commission. 18mm, heavily converted. It looks a bit, the yellow around the side there looks a bit dark. It's because it's actually flesh tone, which is a good base for yellow. Now these are my own collection, or for my own collection, and these were, I have bought these myself. Yeah, I only say that because a good member of the channel, Steve Sanford, he actually sent me a load of Vietnam stuff as well. It's just taken a long time. Sorry, Steve, you know what I'm like. I just bounces round. So went with a different skin tone on these. Again, one I've made up. Anybody needs to know, obviously drop a comment and I'll go through it all. But it's not hard. It's just a couple of paints. But I will go through them when I finish them. I wasn't going to show these, I was going to do them, but I just wanted to show the difference. I've tried to, the skin I've made lighter, I haven't got, I've done, it's been that long, I was trying to tie them in with the ones I'd already done, and I just thought, flesh-wise, it's amazing, they're only a year or so old, those are part of my collection, and I'd already decided to move on and get some different skin tones. I'm happy with this one now. The only thing I haven't done with this, I was cracking on with the basing even today. I just put some of this brush primer all over it, and suddenly realised I hadn't finished doing the t-shirts. This is a corpsman, Navy corpsman, and I should say the three figures I'm showing you are, well, he's a United States Navy, but the United States Marine Corps uses naval medical personnel. I'll go into things later on. I've always been, ever since the 1980s when I used to get Eyewitness Nam magazine, I really wanted to know more about Hue, particularly the Marine Corps in Hue, and I like different aspects of the Vietnam War. That sounds, I like it. It wasn't exactly a nice time for the guys and gals that were there, but it's always been an interest of mine, and I wanted to get back into doing more Vietnam figures again. So, and I am going to be building some terrain for it. So that's our corpsman. But if you notice, that's it. I was talking about bright colours, but obviously you can't do Hue or any other part of Vietnam really and not have the figures more grimy. But I deliberately leave the skin tones quite bright just to show them up on, these are 28mm figures at the end of the day. Obviously I, as we say in the army, gungy, as in dirty, so I've gunged up the body armour. I went with a slightly more orangey look to these than I'd done on the other ones, and decided to leave some of the highlights on the knees and everything, so it's a bit more arty. You've got obviously his respirator case there it's been scraping around on the floor, but his knees are fairly clean, although I've done his elbows up there dirty, so I don't know. Yeah, we'll because it's Hue, and Hue was is a city in Vietnam, up near the DMZ, and what was the DMZ? So obviously it was all fairly beat up by the time they'd managed to defeat the North Vietnamese inside the main city itself. But I've always had an interest in Hue, just because it was unusual for Vietnam really. It was especially when the Americans were in there. It was a really intense urban fighting. And it's and it was well documented, well filmed, and you can follow the movements of the Marines, and obviously the air cav on there, and the Arvin. Just about everybody was there. Obviously MacV were there, which were got Australian and New Zealand instructors in there as well. So yeah, they should look nice when the base is done. I've also got, I haven't got any to show you. In fact, I'll just hold this guy up here just while I'm talking. I was watching, there's a Marra, the channel, Alex Price, his channel. He's a figure painter, war games figures, and he's got himself a printer, and he's printed off some World War II stuff, which I thought was quite nice. I've got a small printer that never gets used myself, so I might well do that at some stage. But I've bought some pre-printed, not from the same company, I don't think. I've always had it, and one of my other interests is early Second World War, the Battle of France, and on the Low Countries, the Netherlands and Belgium, and that's all the nations, particularly obviously British, but I've always liked to see the French in there as well. And somebody's got some lovely printed early war French, so I bought some of those to paint up, and we'll have a show and tell of those when they get there. They should get to me in the next couple of days. Yeah, that's something else. There will be more Vietnam stuff coming. I'm taking part in Joachim and Marcus's group build, which this year is on reconnaissance, and I've got some stuff that Steve sent me that I'll be painting up for that. I think just 4 figures. I couldn't take on too much in one go because I'm doing a model as well. I will also, at the same time as I've pulled those out ready. Obviously not cleaned them or anything yet, because you've obviously got to start on the start date or whatever. But they're sitting in the cupboard behind me, waiting to get a file and whatever on those. And I'll pull a couple more of my Marines out of what I've got as well, to not for the group build itself, but to do alongside them. So thank you very much. I'm sorry I've been rambling all over the place tonight. It's been a change. I haven't rambled for ages. I've also got almost done my War of the Hispanic Succession French, which I started ages and ages ago. And I finally, let me just, the only thing that was holding them up was, rather than using the white metal, I decided to put them on brass just so they'd be a bit more stronger. Done these finial cores. They should have some like knotted bits at the end, but I'm tempted to use lead wire, and obviously the original white metal finial. And I also had, is it the spittoon? I keep getting these wrong. Is it the spittoon or not? But the NCOs, that was a bit tricky getting that on as well. And I've used some of the Mr. Colour lacquer. I brushed it on, lacquer metal primer on those all over, and I'm going to use my lacquer grey paint primer as well, which also has a metal thing in it as well, and that should cover those nice. But that's I've literally had them there for about 4 months or more, could be longer, just because I couldn't get me enthusiasm to make those. Why? It's just head problems, I think. I just turn off from things as quick as I turn on them. So that's what I say. I always apologise, all you guys, if you don't see stuff half done and then they get misses and then it comes back, it's just my head. That's just how it goes. So thank you very much for stopping by and taking a look. I hope you found something interesting there. As I say, it's been a while since I've got a lot of 28mm on the table, different variants. So I've thoroughly been enjoying these. I've enjoyed doing those. Different to doing them up quite sparkly and bright. You can see a little face from there. Well, I can through the viewfinder. I'd say it might be something that way. Might be something interesting to somebody. The only thing I'd say is if you want to paint that way, don't go near any washes or anything, because personally, I think you'll just knacker the effect up. This is just like an ultra clean look that doesn't take a lot. I mean, that blue was a bit like the white trousers. Actually, it was about 2 or 3 blues in there, but on top of white. It took 5 seconds to do. Same with the yellow. Yellow was again usual flesh tones, you know, some description, medium flesh, something like that, round or sunny. I probably use sunny just to get it ultra shiny. Sunny skin tone, say, around on the base of the yellow, and then obviously radiant yellow from AK was put on that, but you know, obviously any bright yellow will do. And then I did go into that in the corners. I used a bit of violet, I believe, might be, because violet is good for shading yellow. Might have been that. I'm not 100% to be honest with you now. But yeah, really nice. Can't thank Paul enough for that. That was very kind of him. Been loving getting back into the Vietnam again, which is a bit weird doing loads of Napoleonics in Vietnam at the side. Now I've got some early World War II French as well coming. But and obviously the World War II Americans as well, late war Americans. Yeah, I've got all my Vietnam stuff on. But it never really goes well. I don't know what it is about me and Vietnam. Always return to Vietnam at some stage, and enjoy you know, putting. I listen to the vets' recollections and you know, I enjoy painting and modelling, that type of stuff. So anyway, look after yourselves. Plenty more of these. I'm only doing 4 of them at a time, but I'll get through that box. I think I'm just going to chuck them on 4 at a time on eBay. If they sell, they sell. If they don't, I'll get a collection of them until I can sell them. Yeah, the 18mm AB conversions, they're going well. Almost finished. Well, I say almost finished. I still have the officers, 4 officers and 4 troopers. All the horses and everything's done. I've just got to do the uniforms on those. The War of Spanish Succession, they get varnished tomorrow, and then they'll get sucked down on bases, and they can finally put them up on eBay. Another time period I like. So yeah, lots of things going on. And I say I'm finally getting a 1 in 35mm model done for the group build. I've got also some 15mm Flames of War tanks, which got to the primer stage, but are just waiting for you know, a couple of hours spraying. That all got knocked into the long grass only just because I came down with a lurgy again, and you just can't put a face mask on. That's what's been holding half these troops up from getting a varnish and that. I just with the lurgy trying to put a mask over your face, not a good idea. So look after yourselves. Thanks for following along, and you know, just keeping tabs on what's happening on the channel. It's much appreciated. And we'll catch each other very soon on another video.